Oh, hello there. Yes, well, somehow we made it to Sunday. Anyway, today I'm going to do something I don't do very often, which is denigrate young people. I don't denigrate young people as a group because most of the Gen Z people I work for are rather lovely, actually. Most young people these days are just simply divine human beings, and I'm very pleased that I get to do the job that I do. However, there are certain individuals in Gen Z that I think it's worthwhile having a go at. Not because they're representatives of Gen Z, but because they themselves are just deeply unhappy human beings who for some reason are given a platform to make the rest of us unhappy as well. And if you think about sort of this time of year, and one of the great things that you might get perhaps is some TV specials like, oh, I don't know, Doctor Who. I personally find it astounding that anybody could watch an hour of David Tennant reprising his greatest Doctor Who role, the greatest Doctor Who, and let's face it, I grew up with Patrick Troughton and the Piccolo and all that rubbish, really. Yes, hiding behind the sofa from the Yetis. I even distinctly remember being terrified by that mannequin one that they had to remake years later because they lost the tape. Horrible. But it was a kind of rite of passage. But I didn't sit there as a child, or indeed as an adult, and suggest that John Pertwee should be taken outside and shot because he didn't represent the things that I thought were important when I was 5. Anyway, moving on from that, I just don't see how anyone can watch David Tennant, Catherine Tate for an hour with a bit of comedy and light-hearted stuff, and not seek joy from it, and indeed see Britain presented in a really positive way to the world, London in a really positive way, the people of the UK in all of their diversity, come on to that, in a really positive way, people being treated like human beings and not simply as a label to be denigrated for political ends. Anyway, talking of all that, we move on to our young people. Now, it would be easy of me just to slag off certain individuals like, say, Sophie Corcoran, who, has a lot of problems, obviously, and for some bizarre reason, because she's probably the only member of the Conservative, or one of the only members of the Conservative Party who's actually under 40, gets a platform. Yeah, I mean, her latest one is to suggest that we need change in this country because all the brown people are ruining it for her and people like her, white people. So therefore, what they need to do is vote Conservative. Mustn't vote Labour. They'll make it worse. It can't get any worse, Sophie. Anyway, moving forwards from that, of course, we arrive neatly thumping down into my Twitter feed with Connor Tomlinson, who was bitching about Doctor Who. So let's read what he had to say. 2 fairly long tweets. Sorry about the fact he can't be bothered to put punctuation in. Blame him. Anyway, why do you care? It's just acting. I care because the agenda behind this is not benign. Russell T Davies cared enough to remove Davros's wheelchair for disabled representation. Stephen Moffat cared enough to tell a kind of lie by blackwashing the Thames Frost Fair in season 10. I care because I am unable to suspend disbelief when actors look nothing like their historical counterparts and are cast because of the creator's obsession with race and gender politics. Yes, poor old Connor, he can't suspend disbelief. Well, I can't suspend disbelief, actually, Connor, because you are the person that sits on the Lotus Eaters in that stupid, oh, look at me, I'm talking about important things, leather armchair, talking about Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics are basically Harry Potter novels, but with pictures for the hard of reading. Oh, look, I can fly because I got bitten by a radioactive bat. That's what they are, Connor. They are for small-minded Americans. The only reason, let's face it, you do it is because your audience is 14-year-old American proto-Nazis. He can't suspend disbelief. So, don't watch it then. Anyway, moving on. I care because I care when a core part of my childhood is hijacked as a vehicle to denigrate me because I'm a heterosexual white male. Yes, That is definitely the message that comes out, isn't it, from any Doctor Who you might watch. It's designed to have a go at straight white people. How insecure do you have to be, whereby the most important thing about you are two things that are very, very strongly genetically linked, as in the colour of your skin and your sexuality? Eh? How insecure do you have to be that even that isn't good enough for you? I know why he's worried about his heterosexuality, because he's wrapped up in his own particular Christian faith. We'll come on to that. Right, anyway, I care because to have a television in this country, my family are forced to pay for this racist, revisionist propaganda. Well, Connor Tomlinson, after all, is always bitching because he doesn't have a family, so I presume he means his mum and dad. Racist, revisionist propaganda. How is it racist, Connor? It's a story. It's a story. It's a picture book, okay? I don't complain when I'm reading Spot Goes to the Park that Spot is a bit not like a dog, because dogs aren't that cleanly drawn. But you do when it suits you to further your particular political ends. Anyway, I care because they cared enough to ruin it to pursue their demented political ends. Yes, must be awful to have demented political ends, mustn't there? Anyway, he moves on because actually there's another one without full stops in it. Yes! So let's unpack that one, because it goes a bit further into the deep psyche, the tormented soul that is Connor Tomlinson. Let's have a look. Bro, it's just a TV show. Why do you even care? Yes, bro. Snigger. I watched the revival on premiere night in 2005. I think he was 6. I watched Doctor Who every Saturday night with my family for 8 years. We made a special effort to find a restaurant with a TV while on holiday abroad to watch Rose and the Doctor play parts in Doomsday. Yes, whining little kid, so the parents had to give in to him even though they were on holiday. Think about that. Little British kid that has to have the comfort that is Doctor Who. But, of course, at the time, he didn't realise what revisionist racist propaganda it was. I'm quite surprised that he's so insecure in his heterosexuality. Or maybe that was the plot, eh? So that we could get Connor Tomlinson to be even more insecure about his own sexuality than he is already now. Yeah? Perhaps that was it. But Connor doesn't seem to actually be able to compute that because, of course, like everybody else, he has a fantasy about his childhood when his parents looked after him. Now he's in the big world. They don't do that anymore. Must be very scary. I'd hide behind the sofa if I were you, Snowflake Boy. The show influenced my love of storytelling. It made a field the mind of a pretty lonely kid with wonder. Yes, it made the field, which is really good. Pretty lonely kid. I think you still are, Connor. I don't think you're actually any different from that 6-year-old that was watching earlier. I think all of those insecurities are being played out in real time in front of us, and we'll come to the reason why I find that problematic in just a second. You're desecrating a beloved bit of people's childhoods. The show used to be brilliant, starred. Yeah, it's stars. I mean, when I first saw that, I just saw the 1 star, and I was sort of thinking, oh, it must be a comment down below. No, he just, for some reason on his phone, couldn't find the inverted commas. And nobody can honestly pretend that the writing quality of these specials comes close to Stolen Earth / Journey's End. Oh, I'm sure they can, Connor. I can pretend about lots of things. But you, as an adult, I don't know, not much of one, of course, but yeah, perhaps one of the things you still need to learn, having actually mystically gone beyond the age of majority, is that as an adult you can pretend a great deal. As an adult, I can pretend, and I can also become childlike. It's one of the joys of being an adult. I don't have to be hung up about whether or not I am a different person now from when I was 6. I know I am. I'm also a different person now from when I was 30. I don't get hung up about these things. You don't need to. I don't know, you might actually find that out later. I think in your case it'll be a lot later. But I can seriously pretend, and I think other people will do as well, because unfortunately one of the things about the mainstream media is that whilst they're going to slag off all the kind of wokeism in it, they can't deny that it's getting really good viewing figures, is it? Oh, it's not as big as it was before the internet. Yeah, I know, but that was before the internet, wasn't it? It's not the same thing, is it? It's not the same thing. It's reality. Reality, Connor. Russell T Davis's fall from grace is astonishing, and what he's done is unforgivable. So yes, I do care a lot. Yes, unforgivable. Well, yeah, like I say, again, have him taken outside and shot. Why not? Why do I care about this? Well, I care, like I say, because he is somebody that just crops up on my bleeding timeline. And he's always there pontificating rubbish in a variety of different platforms. His little era is definitely coming to an end, but the problem with the Connor Tomlinsons and the other kind of Christo-fascists that are out there is that they will go off into the sunset and incubate a new generation of extremely misogynistic, very, very right-wing individuals, because that's their audience, that's where the cash is going to come from. That's the reason I sit here slagging him off. Like I say, I'm not slagging off young people generally. Pretty much just him. But he's so representative of just a group of ideas that are really terrifying. These people are dyed in the wool. Extremely right-wing. You can call them fascist, but you can argue about the term. I'm sure he doesn't think of himself as a fascist, but by God, he ticks an awful lot of the boxes. And you combine that with right-wing and evangelical American money, and you end up with a kind of social policy platform that should scare the bejesus out of your average kid who will have to grow up under it in 10 years' time. They'll be looking back with their mystical childhoods to a time when Doctor Who didn't have a political message from the Ministry of Propaganda run by Connor Tomlinson. Anyway, do have a lovely Sunday if you can. Please do.